Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. This is a TASCAM DR100 Mark III. So this is a audio recorder for recording voice mostly with its dual condenser microphones and such. And this came in from a local journalist friend who is local to the town. And I've seen him use this multiple times. He came in and he said, "Graham, the USB port on my best friend is broken." And like, you can see the use this thing has had. If this thing could tell stories, man. And I was like, yo, that sucks. However, it is just a broken micro USB port. So theoretically, this shouldn't be a big deal to fix and get this guy up and running again. Obviously, without the USB ports, we can't pull recordings directly off of the internal storage. Hypothetically, he could stick an SD card in there, and I would argue that might be a better way of using a device like this, just so if it does get broken, you don't lose the recordings that are on it, which are obviously irreplaceable. However, I don't know much about using these, so perhaps there's a reason for not using an SD card. In any case, we're going to open this thing up, have a look at that broken USB port, and see what it takes to replace it. So, looking around this thing, there are 4 small screws on the bottom, and I think that's where we're going to get started. And there's not a lot... And I'm here to help. Blah, blah, blah. Ugh, bloody Cortana. Alright, so let's take these screws out. I'm expecting this to be reasonably serviceable because it's professional equipment. And professional equipment tends to be built with servicing in mind because it's expensive. So, with a bit of luck, this isn't going to be a nightmare to get into. Feels something's hanging on up the top there. Looks like it might just be a clip. There we go. Alright, well that gets me to the main battery. So what's this? That is... So it's a 3.6 volt 4 amp hour single cell battery there. That's quite chunky. I'm surprised it's only single cell. This thing has phantom power for dual XLR jacks there. And phantom power is like 50 volts kind of thing. So I'm surprised they're using such a low voltage source considering they've got to step up to phantom power at some point in this thing. But that much being said, I don't think phantom power mics actually have a huge amount of power draw on them. The voltage is there just so you can power a mic across a very long cable run, which is what phantom power is for. That guy is glued down, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of encouragement. Is that just tape? Yeah, it is just tape. And it is a plastic wrap that is holding on, so I can be a little bit rude to this without fear of damaging the battery. There we go. Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's disconnect that. Boop. Okay, this is giving us access to more screws. So we've got screw, 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 screws. So I shall just keep taking stuff off. This small black screw, I reckon, might be to do with the battery. Oh yeah, we've got more batteries here as well. A couple of AA's there. Backup batteries, maybe? Let's just keep taking stuff apart. That is going to need to come off sooner or later, so I'll take that one out as well. Right there. Okay, how are we feeling? Whoop. Yep, stuff is coming off. Top left is holding on again. we go. So where are we up to? We've got a 2-board design in here. So we've got this backboard, and I need to get to the one that's further down. I wonder if the front will come off, because that is kind of loose at the moment. I don't think there's anything else holding that on. I'm going to give that a gentle pry just to see if I can get access to the top board. Not feeling that. No, not feeling that. I think we're going deeper in. Okay. It looks like if I take out a screw there, this board will flip out. So let's see if I can do that. I'll disconnect the XLR board down here. I want to try and avoid disturbing the microphone array if I can, just because that's a horrifying spaghetti there. Incidentally, I was surprised that this thing was doing phantom power off of just the built-in batteries. You can see all the capacitors there and a little resistor network in there as well. My guess is that's some kind of voltage multiplier, which is probably how it gets up to the 50 volts for phantom power. Right, we're not going to be able to lift up because the 3.5mm jacks aren't going to pop out of there. Will it come up this direction, I wonder? I'm just going to give this a very gentle pry to see if it wants to move. That's going to go, but this side isn't. Let's release these jumper wires going over here, just so I have a bit more slack on those. Now, will this case bend? Normally in this situation, you'd bend the casing outwards to get those through, but those stick out a long way, and this case is hard and tough. That is not going to budge. So I think if I can make this board move in that direction, that would do it. Let's put this down a moment. Yeah, as long as this ribbon up here has got the slack on it, which I think it might do. There we go. We're moving. There we go. And up you go. Ooh, interesting. Okay. There was an interconnect there. Thankfully, because I've been prying it upwards, that released. Right. Can I just push that up? Am I good? I'm good. Right. We're nearly there. We need to get to there. Let's remove that. That's just the SD card cover. So we've got some more screws over this metal plate here. That metal plate looks like it extends up to here. I'm going to see if I can pop this board out as well, because I think there's going to be a screw underneath it that I need to get to. That board is feeling kind of stubborn. Oh, it is going. It is going. Again, I'm just gently prying things in directions to see where they want to move to. I'm not using a lot of force here. I'm just nudging. This is going to be horrifying to reassemble. Okay, there was no screw down there. We've already removed that. However, we have got enough clearance that I'll be able to wiggle that metal plate out now. So I'm going to dive in and pull out those screws. Man, if the USB port had been on this top board, we'd be laughing. But yeah. Coming out. There we go. Okay, right. There's our broken USB port. And thankfully there's not a whole lot of damage to the circuit board there. The anchor pad on the bottom has torn, but that's not the end of the world. The 4 corner anchors are all intact, as are the data pins, and that's what's really important. Because like this was SMD soldered, and factory soldering like this is not particularly strong. In my opinion, all USB ports should be through-hole components, but yeah. In any case, we can solder a new one onto there in the corners, and because we're hand soldering that, we can put on big dollops of solder that will make that nice and strong. So that'll be fine. Will that board come out? It connects to other stuff. The problem we've got now is it doesn't look like there's a whole lot holding that board on. It might just be a couple of interconnects between this board and there's another board down below. However, also there are some soldered ribbon cables connecting. Like if I take this board out, this has also got to come out because there's a soldered cable there. But also, if I can just lift this out so it clears the edge of the case, I can work on this in situ. I've almost got enough access just to work on it while it's all apart. I don't think I actually have to detach things. Oh, there we go. I just went no guts, no glory and just gave that a lift. A couple of interconnects have just popped off of the bottom, so that's the kind of movement that I wanted to see. Right, I've just got to clear this from around stuff. Here we go. Up you come. Right. So underneath there we've got another board. There's the interconnects that I just popped off. See a big analog devices chip there. That's probably the brains of the outfit. So it looks like this is a display board for handling the display and the front panel buttons. This is a digital board that's the brains of the outfit. And this is probably the analog board that's doing all of the microphone and amplification stuff. That's my guess as to the general topology of this thing. So the thing that's holding me up now is that guy there. So I could try and pop off this connector. That gives me access to a screw, which then might get this volume jog wheel to come out. Or I could just work in situ there, and I think I'm going to work in situ rather than try and disassemble this further. This thing is complicated enough as it is. I'm going to get into a position where I can just hand solder. I'm going to put that like that, and I'm going to wedge something underneath it just so it stays in position. I'm going to grab my spare USB ports and see if I've got a match for this guy. Okay, so here's a super close-up of the USB port. So as you can see, we've got 4 anchor points. The rear anchors are a little bit closer in than the front anchors, and it's full SMD, so it's not through-hole. And there were 5 pins on there. That guy's bent in a bit, but it would bend out if we... or it would break off. That's also fine, but whatever. Cool. And also, the wide section is at the top. So that's what we're looking for. So the first one that I've just pulled out of the pile here is this guy. This is a pretty good match already. If we flip it over... Oh no, I thought that doesn't have rear... I thought that had rear anchors. It doesn't. Also, these ones are through-hole. I could bend those flat, so, you know, hypothetically, we could make that fit. That guy the same? This guy is slightly shorter. That one's going to fit better. I prefer that. And that guy's got some long legs on, which I think are going to be... I think this guy's going to be too long. I'm going to try for this one. Right, so here's our busted USB port site. I'm going to flow some fresh solder onto that and then wick it down just to clean up the pads. I'm working at a bit of a weird angle here because the board is hanging out of the device, so that's less than ideal, but just means that if it looks like I'm just completely missing the board, that's why, basically. Now flux and then wick. There we go. Now, what's going to suck is if there is further damage here. Let's look at the damage that we do have. So you can see that this ground pad is gone. That guy was basically holding the USB port on. So that's gone, can't do anything about that. We're going to solder onto these 4 anchor points, and that's going to be our new hold down. So that'll be fine. There's some chips on these 2 capacitors here and here. So this happened when the old USB port got pushed back. When the cable was connected, it went crunch into the corners of those capacitors. So these are bypass capacitors for the ground and power pads. And then back here we've got a common mode choke as well. So I'm just going to set my multimeter into resistance mode, and I'm just going to have a quick poke and see. I don't know if we're going to get very particularly valid readings right now, but put my black probe on the shield of the SD card slot, and I'm just going to probe around here and just see what we've got. I always forget which way around these are. Okay, that looks like our 5-volt pin, and that's not shorted. That one's going to be ground, I believe. Yeah, that's ground. All right, so they're not shorted in any case. So fingers crossed, it looks like we may be okay. So this is ground because we've got a 0 ohm resistor coming round to ground. So that tallies as well. So a 5-volt rail goes up there through this choke, then round on this side. So that's going to be ground, and that is a interesting. It almost looks like we've got a capacitor from ground to ground. I don't know why that is. Someone who knows more about electrical engineering may be able to answer why they've bothered putting a capacitor there, but that's fine. Okay, in any case, the main thing is that the 5-volt line isn't shorted, so it looks like we may be okay. Also looks like the data pins go through vias onto the other side of the board, so those haven't been scratched up or anything. We should be careful though, because these pads will be delicate. So I was a little bit cavalier with the wicking then. If I'd looked closer, I might not have bothered wicking those down, but we seem to be okay. Let's just try and stick the new USB port on, and we'll hope for the best in that case. Oh, come on. Don't fight me, port. Right, I cannot see if I'm remotely straight, so let's have a look. Oh, it's a little bit over to the right, but if I give that a little bit of a nudge, you know what? I think that wasn't bad for a first attempt. I think we're standing up a little bit, though. Oh, we're miles off of the back of the board there. Yeah, okay. Oh, I know what the problem is. I didn't take off those stupid pegs. That's why we're not flat. There, that's looking way better. Okay, I think I'm going to commit to that. So I'm going to tack down the left-hand side, and then I'm going to go for the data pins. Right. I'll move a bit more on shot in a minute. I just want to dab a little bit of solder down there so I can work one-handed. That was terrible, but let's try. I think half of that went onto the back of the port. Yeah, not enough solder down there. What I also need is some thinner solder. Oh, that tip needs tinning. Oh my god. I'm making a hash of it. This would be easier if I wasn't working in such an awkward position. There we go. We might have something there. Let's flux up and try and flow those pins. If I'd pre-tinned these pads, we wouldn't have a problem here. So I should have gone for that. And it's not too late to. Yeah, okay, we've got to pre-tin those pads. This is ridiculous. Right, that's more like it. How do we feel now? Feeling not enough heat, not enough flux. There we go. Those guys are on. Alright, I think that's good enough for Great Britain. Those are soldered down. The ground pad on the far left, that could be better. But also remember, we've got 4 ground anchor points that are also grounding this thing. So, not super important. Let's do the other points. Uh-oh. 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 I didn't think. Ooh. Okay, we're okay. If that solder had just gone into the port, I'd be screwed. We're going to wick that off straight away and do that again. That was a bit haphazard there. Shouldn't have done that. This J-tip is not my friend for this kind of work. I'm experimenting with it, but it's not my friend here. I'm going to switch back to the knife edge. There we go. Good grief. That was a lot more painful than it needed to be. Right, these back anchors are not working for me, so I think I'm just going to focus on the front anchors and make sure they've just got really nice solid joins on them. I'm just going to check the inside of the port again. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, right, this one was really difficult to work on because the board is just still in situ. If I'd been able to take out the board, I think I could have gotten to those back anchor points and gotten those to work. But as it stands, I've got nice big solid solder joins on these sides here. So I'm pretty confident about that, to be honest. And I'm going to send it. I think those big side anchors are going to do the work here. This is quite a short port as well. And it's also got the reinforcement of just the housing around it there as well. So I'm going to put this back together again and see how we get on. I don't want to push too hard with this thing, so let's just tuck everything in and see what we've achieved. Certainly looks good on the side there now. Alright, I think I've got enough here to try for a test fit, so let's slot the batteries in. And plug this guy back in. Alright, and does it turn on? Good, right, still works. So in the top right, we've got two battery indicators. We've got a lithium one, which is showing as empty, and a AA one, which is showing about half full. So I'm guessing the AA's are a backup battery there. So let's plug in a USB cable and see if it does stuff. Whoop. All right, we've got an indicator light. Right, and with USB connected mode enabled here, we're seeing a USB drive connected to the computer, so that is working as well. It's saying there's no drive connected, so I guess this thing doesn't have any internal storage, and the USB connectivity is just so you can read from the XD card, or SD card. However, also, we need this USB port in order to charge the internal battery, so that was required anyway. I thought it was going to be just for accessing internal storage, but it looks like it was mainly just so we could charge it. But in any case, this is all working just fine, so I'm going to go ahead and put all of the back covers on as well. Alright, there we go. That's one fixed TASCAM recorder, everyone, and that is recording file to an XD card now. So if I hit stop, there, and I should be able to play that back as well, or if I go into menu, system, and USB storage, that now appears on the computer, and as you can see, we've got a file that I just recorded. Alright, there we go. That's one fixed TASCAM recorder, everyone. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.